Hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Rosinski. I'm Executive Director of Bainbridge Arts and Crafts, and it's my absolute joy today to be here talking with Patti Christie, one of the artists we are featuring in our February show. We just came up with the title Scapes for the show, and we have Patti and Scott Pascoe and Carol Bearer showing their work. And Patti, if you could share a little bit about your background and influences. I understand you studied at Evergreen State College. Is that where you first learned some of the techniques that you use?
I did. I studied at Evergreen in the late 70s and I graduated there. I was working mainly painting, oil painting then, and I didn't switch to pastels till some years later. I actually didn't start doing art seriously until after I had my children, and that was many years later. Early 80s.
It's interesting that you started using oil paints because your work, I didn't realize it was pastels when I first saw it. It has a very painterly feel to me. And I really have never seen anyone working with pastels in the way that you do. It's a really lovely technique that you have. Was there someone in particular that you studied with who introduced you to working that way?
Actually, no, I started working on paper. This is a really good way to go. I started working on paper first, and then I started making my own paper because I wanted to work larger. So I had these huge sheets of really fine drawing paper, and I created my technique of using gesso and ground pumice on the paper. So I would lay out the paper, prepare it with the ground and let it dry and then press it. And then I was able to work up to 23 by 28, but then I wanted to work bigger. And then I thought, well, now if it works on paper, why wouldn't it work on anything else? So then I started building my panels and using the same technique of the ground pumice and the gesso with the chalk. And that's how I really got started with the big panels. And then because it's chalk and it's very, well, tricky, I came up with a fixative solution, which entails many, many light coats of fixative to the panels. And that's how I came up with the whole thing. It did take a while. It took a number of years to get it figured out and where I could do it consistently and have it work out the way I wanted it to consistently.
Yeah, like with anything, you put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a believer in that. It takes that to get good at something. I'm really struck by the sense of kind of endless vistas that your pieces have. I've been fortunate to live near oceans at different points in my life, and it always gives me this kind of sense of peace and calm to live near an edge like that where I can look out on the horizon and not see any kind of end. And your pieces really have that feel to me and that experience about them. And from what I've read, it sounds like it's imagery that comes from your experience. You're not necessarily looking at a scene when you're working from your memories and evoking what you felt in your travels. Is that a good description?
That's true. In the beginning, most of the images came from, I was fortunate, my parents had a really small little cabin down near Westport, Washington, and we spent our summers there as kids. And that place was very special. We still have it, and I still go there frequently. Often when on my way through Bainbridge there, we'd take the round through Shelton and go that way. That's where it all got started, really, with the body of work and the style. I did work from photographs and I still do sometimes, not very often, but yeah, I don't work from photographs anymore. I just go to a place, maybe spend a day or two, or I don't plan to make a picture there or anything. It just, then I come back and make pictures from where I've been. I think a lot of artists do that. They get their ideas from where they've been and what they see.
Well, they're really gorgeous pieces, and we're so happy to show them. And we're doing a soundscape event along with them, in place of the artist talks that we've often done in the gallery. We have a woman who, she uses these crystal bowls, and sound vibrates from the bowls, and people will get to experience the artwork and the sounds at the same time and let that wash over them in different ways. So we're trying something a little different. It should be fun. So you grew up in Washington, is that true? You're native?
I am a native. I grew up in Olympia. I lived a few different places. I lived in Utah briefly. I spent a little bit of time in California, but I always came back to Washington. Yeah, I ended up in Seattle. I met my husband through sailing. My family was in the marine industry, and I met my husband, who was a sailmaker from New Zealand, in Seattle. And we were here. We're in the same house since for about 25 years now. My kids are grown, and they're both out of state, but they come home very often, so I see them a lot.
Oh, that's nice. Are they involved in creative things as well, or?
They are creative people, but they actually have real jobs. No, they're very creative, and they're very, yeah.
Artists have real jobs. We just have too many. We have to do 25 different things.
Right. And the other thing I did was just inconsequentially, I taught elementary school art for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I started when my kids went to school in elementary school. I started volunteering because the school didn't have an art program. I had a very good friend, and the two of us did it together for 10 years. 10 years. And we came up with a really, really good program. And then I always had a teaching certificate. And so then it was after that. Can you hear my dog?
Yes. Wants to be part of the interview.
Yeah, he's right here. Yeah, so then I eventually got a job with Seattle Public Schools, and I stayed with them for quite some time. I am only retired in 2018.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you find that experience of teaching played into what you chose to do when you sat down to do your own work?
You know what? It did. And some of the best art that I have kept and things that I have are from when I was doing those demos with those kids. And you had to do it really quick, and you had to talk and do it at the same time and try and keep them all looking at you and their attention. And I look back on those demos and I go, how in the world did I even do that? I mean, they were just great. They were just great. And I loved my job. And I still go back and substitute at the school that I was at the longest, at Co Elementary on Queen Anne. I still go back there and substitute. It's fun. I miss the kids. I miss teaching. It's just was, I had, there were, at the peak of the population, there were 640 kids. So I saw 180 kids a day.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really a lot, but we put on some great shows and great events, and that was just so fun.
It's an intense
pace.
But
it was working with the pastels with them, I think, that kept me most interested, and the landscapes. I really like teaching landscape.
Mhm. You mentioned you might walk around your studio a
Oh,
bit,
sure.
show us some of what you're doing. And we could say hi to your pup as well.
Sure. He always does this when I'm on the phone. I didn't ever realize this was going to happen with this. Here, come here.
Ah, there you are. Oh.
Such a good dog. So this is my studio. Uh-oh. Can you see my easel there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you have a
Nice blank one up there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one I think might be finished. And here's some panels. And that's about it. It's really like that.
Great.
Yeah. Pretty clean right now. Very clean. Too clean.
Yeah, I need a certain amount of mess around me, it seems, when I work. It's not that I consciously do that, it's just that it happens. So
Yeah, I work kind of in stages. I'll spend a week or so building panels and getting ready, and I want to make sure I have enough panels for like when it starts, that I don't run out of, because it usually comes pretty rapidly and goes on rapidly, and then I'll take a break. So I'm kind of in between right now.
yeah. So you have your own like wood shop or basic carpentry?
Yeah, I have my garage is huge and it's all set up, and it's also set up as a spray booth for my fixing.
Uh-huh. Would you say there's any kind of overriding motivation you have that drives you in your work? Any particular aspects of it that you can point to? It's a hard thing to verbalize, I think, but
I really, really, really like doing it. And when I'm doing it, it's like I can't even remember it when it's done. It just happens, and then it's just, I'm sure it happens to a lot of artists where you just work and you just go, wow, did that really happen? Did I really just do that in 4 days or whatever it took, and I work on multiple pieces at a time sometimes, and it's just it's not, I don't know if the word is frenzy, but it's a little bit of a push, and
like,
it's super fun.
oh,
Loud music, just
oh yeah.
stuff flying around, just
What do
really
you
fun.
listen to when you paint or when you
Oh,
draw?
I have a set of CDs that I've had since the beginning that my husband made for me, and I always play the same ones over and over again. It's like Leonard Cohen, Willie Nelson, all the ones that he made for me, 35 years ago, and I'm still listening to those same. I have to have that same music. Yeah, kind of stuck with that.
That's good.
I wonder what the neighbors think sometimes. Like, oh my God, she's putting that CD on again. She must be working.
Well, you have your process pretty well.
Yeah, I do. I do all the detail work in the morning, first thing. Any sort of, I do make little thumbnails and little tiny pictures and try and figure out how the bigger ones are going to work. So I do all the detail work in the morning, any paperwork or like that or anything. And then I usually start working around 3 p.m.
It's a nice pace you have set.
Yeah, I keep it. I keep it to pretty much a schedule. I do have a schedule. I don't, I try and do some every day. It just has to be the right weather too. Weather plays a big part of it. I think that's just why there's a little pause right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's coming. It's coming.
You can feel it.
It's a lot warmer today.
Yeah, it's quite a bit warmer, and the days are getting a little bit longer again. The light was in the sky till 4:30 the other day. It made me so happy.
Yeah, I know. I think it's part of it.
Yeah, that helps. Um, yeah, and having a well heated or cooled space to work in as opposed to a garage like I have for a studio, that can affect it too. Specific pieces that you have in the show, the images that you sent us, the skies are so expansive and the horizon lines are kind of low in the framing. Does any one piece come to mind to be able to describe what you were thinking as you were doing them, or is it really kind of more nonverbal for you?
It's mostly visual. I think that the majority of the pieces were a series called Through the Seasons,
Mhm.
which was part of our having to be home.
All right.
And
COVID.
yeah, and it's basically through the seasons. I mean, it went through the seasons, right? I mean, so that's where that came from. It's mostly visual. I just let the piece develop. I just look at it and think, and it can go on for a long time because I don't fix them but once a year in the spring and summer. Then they're all kind of lurking around and I can change them until I fix them. And
Mhm.
sometimes I have to actually move them away and, and put them in a whole nother room so I don't keep uh, touching them. But yeah, it's color, shape, it's visual. And like you said before, it's a feeling of expanse. And
Mhm. Yeah, and for those not familiar with that term fixative, it's like the surface can keep changing. You can keep smudging or moving or working it until that coating seals it, right?
Mhm.
So there's a clear kind of demarcation line for you when you're ready to kind of freeze it in place.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have gone back and reworked old pieces that were already fixed, and that works too.
Hmm.
But I don't do that very often.
Yeah, that would seem to be quite a process. Would you?
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, would you have to sand it off and kind of?
No, I just work the layers over again.
Oh,
If the painting
so
gets
build on top
scratchy.
of.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Your time at Evergreen State College, was that before kids, or did you go back to school later?
No, I was young. I was very young.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was super young. And it was called Studio Project. It was a really fabulous program. There were about 20 people in it and two teachers, Marilyn Frasca and Susan, I can't remember her last name.
Mm.
And they were good. It was good. It was not your typical classes. Went on for 2 years, the last 2 years uh, of my 4-year experience. And it was just the same 20 people working and painting, sharing ideas and techniques. I had a little studio in the steam plant.
Hmm.
It was very warm.
Uh-huh.
And it was really a good experience. The whole thing was really good. I highly recommend Evergreen. It was a long time ago. I'm not sure what's going on there now, but
Mhm.
at the time it was very innovative.
Yeah, I've heard amazing things about the place. It seems like they really take an interdisciplinary approach in general, like teachers in different subjects perhaps work together, or there's not like clearly limited boundaries between subjects in a way that maybe more conventional
Yeah.
programs have.
There were some technique classes. I did quite a bit of printmaking, lithography, etching, all of basics, of that, and stretching a canvas, all the basic things. But then mostly it was the people in the program, the other kids. They weren't
Mhm.
all kids. I was a kid that we just taught each other and helped each other and learned together how to do stuff.
Have you kept in contact with?
I have not. I have not. I have not.
I found in later years, long out of school, it's been helpful to have fellow artists to kind of bounce ideas off of sometimes, or have almost like what you get out of having a crit, other people looking at your work and getting feedback that you can get so easily in a school environment. It's tough to get outside of that environment unless you're taking a class. I've had some friends where we did that for each other, and I've appreciated that.
I wouldn't mind doing that some more now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm always amazed how people see things in your work that can surprise you, that you don't think of as you're making it. Just all the interpretations that can come out of something. Well, Patti, we're so happy to have you share these thoughts with us and give us a little insight into the work that you do. And we can't wait to get the show together and get it out for the public to see very soon. So thank you for talking to us today and introducing your dog to us as well, who wanted to be a part of it, clearly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Be sure you don't miss Scapes, our painting show featuring Carol Bearer, Patti Christie, and Scott Pascoe at Bainbridge Arts and Crafts from February 4th through February 15th.